Voice of the customer, or VOC, is another important part of define phase. What is meant with the VOC, or voice of the customer, is all feedback and or implications from the customers. The term is used to describe customers' needs and their perceptions of your product or service. VOC is important because customers are ones who pay the bills. So it's very important to understand their needs, since they actually define the playing field. They serve as the referee for all competitors. They define what is a value-added activity or service, and they are always right, even if we cannot meet their needs or do so in profitable manner. Because they decide what products and services to offer. They also identify critical features and the required specifications. That means that they actually will help us to decide where to focus our improvement efforts. And they also help us gain a baseline measure of customer satisfaction to measure the improvements. Additional thing is that without the VOC, it's really hard to start defining your development needs in a later stage. So who is a customer? Who they really are? Definition is any person or organization that receives a product or service, meaning the output when we compare to CPOC, from the work activities, i.e. the process. Whose needs must be met for this process to be successful? That is the question to ask when you think, who are your customers? And there's basically three types of customers. Most natural, of course, is external. So all individuals or organizations outside of your business who are usually associated with paying money for your products or services. Internal ones are a bit more difficult to define, but they are the colleagues who receive products, services, support, or information from your process. i.e., when we think about production, it might be engineering, manufacturing, quality, marketing, finance, safety, sales, procurement, management, stockholders, administration, etc. There's always internal suppliers and internal customers. You have to really think and use CPOC to collect that information. The third type of customer is something that many times people don't realize, that they are actually customers for your organization. Any government agency that has standards or requirements for the process or product where you must conform to, i.e. all authorities, quality associations, and so on. What do you think? What tool could we use to identify our customers? Stop this video for a while and think and write down a few points. And then continue. When we think about the VOC process, the first step is to identify customers and determine what you need to know of them. Second step is to collect and analyze reactive systems data and then fill up the gaps with proactive approaches. We'll come back to those later. Then translate the key customer requirements into meaningful measures. And set specifications for things that are critical to customers, CTCs. An outcome of this process should be a list of customers and potential segments of customers. identification of relevant reactive and proactive sources of data, and maybe some other information as well. Verbal or numerical data that will identify customer needs. Clearly define critical to customer requirements. Specifications for each CTC. And based on these findings and studies, reinforce Project Charter. Like mentioned when we spoke about Project Charter, it is a living document. You will be reinforcing it basically on every stage. Here are some of the main features of the VOC plan. Like said, first is to list the main customers who use your product or service and make notes about potential segments that might be relevant to your project. Make sure you include all relevant internal and external customers on this list. So write down who they are, what they receive from you, and why they are actually your customers. Think then what you need to know from these customers, what kind of questions you want to ask. Then when you think about the sources, think what are reactive sources, so sources that give you basically automatically some information, and what are the ones where you need to do something, the proactive sources. And look for diverse sources for finding information about the customer needs. And then make a summary. Summarize specifically which customers you will contact, when and how. This is also part of thinking. Are you going to call, send questionnaires, surveys, or how you will contact your clients, your customers? So there's two basic VOC types. Reactive ones, like mentions, information that comes to you despite of if you take action or not. And then proactive, where you need to really put some effort into gathering that information. Here is some typical reactive systems. Of course, the most visible is the customer complaints, either through phone or by writing. All problem service hotlines, technical support calls, customer service calls, claims, credits, contested payments, sales reporting, product return information, warranty claims, and the activity on the web pages and also in social media. Typically, reactive systems gather data on current and former customer issues and problems, current and former customers' unmet needs, current and former customers' interest in particular products or services. When you think of this list, are there some points where you are a bit surprised that they are reactive customer feedback systems? For example, if you work in production, how much information you get through sales reporting, through technical support calls if you don't handle them yourselves, customer service calls, and so on. Are you missing some important information? Proactive systems are something where you need to really do something to gather information. Typically, they are in the forms of interviews, focus groups, surveys, comment cards, data gathering during sales visits or calls, direct customer observation, market research, market monitoring, benchmarking, quality scorecards, etc. Again here, ask yourselves, do you really get enough communication with, for example, sales? Or as a salesperson, do you communicate well enough to production and product planning of the needs you have heard or seen? When we spoke about doing the CPOC using post-its, here you will see actually a similar approach. Because you need to use something that you can move from one place to another when you really start thinking about the thing. You need to be able to group by the affinity all the verbatim customer voices, clarifying common themes among groups of customers, i.e. checking what is tied with something else. And to do that, to process that information, you need to have clarified thought process from all team members. I would even say that this must be a team exercise. This will then work as a foundation on which the group can find consensus and common ground for discussion and future activities. For example, some customer verbatim have said, I consider the time to turn on this PC is excessive, or it takes them too long time to get back to me with a solution. Or they never answer the telephone, and at best it takes them forever. Or whenever the computer department comes to install a new application, I lose a complete morning. These are complaints, these are customer information that should be taken into account when planning actions, planning improvements. So when you look at those empty squares, there's expectations, requirements, and measures. When we then fill up these, expectations are, I need my PC to start quicker. I need answers quicker. I need the phone answer quicker. Computer department takes too long to do the things. So you have to think what that means in terms of requirements. For example, PC to start within 30 seconds. I need to have a real eye in 30 minutes. Phone to be answered in 3 rings. Computer problems to be solved in less than half a day. And then we have measures. Clear measures which you can use to follow up to improvement. Like time to start PC, time to respond, number of rings before answering, time to solve computer issues. As you see, the verbatim, what customers have told, is then changed to requirements and measures. For example, here is a customer service unit. This is from real project. So customer satisfaction survey show that we need to answer the call faster. We need to get first-time resolutions. We need to keep the clients updated. And based on that, we find out that we have to have 3 rings. And as you see, there's other points empty as well. Connect to the right person first time and contacted with 1 day. So from left of more general and hard to measure things to the right for more specific and easy to measure things. That is major part of VOC exercise. Stop the computer again, stop this video, and see through this picture of a phone company, how they started using the VOC information to improve and define their development needs and service needs. Stop it now and go through all the different arrows and points. Now when you start it again, what kind of comments, ideas, thoughts were raised when you were going through this? Think about them and think how that kind of things affect to your own organization. So, to summarize this section or lesson regarding VOC, You have to understand your customer needs because they are vital in any project. When you really understand what the customers are really telling you and you can convert them into critical to customer requirements, that will enable you to solve many problems. When you use a structured approach to ensure that you capture all real information from customers, you can then start seeing, also when you compare to things like CPOC, what needs to be done and where. Remember that customers can be internal and they can be the business, external ones, which means kind of voice of the business. So again, a small exercise. Develop a project VOC plan for your own project. Start by thinking, who are really all my customers? Think how you can collect data to find out their true needs. And then review the data. You will be using this kind of information in a group exercise later in this period.